Hello everyone, this is Chelsea from Those With Words. Welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to discuss my 2025 Techo Kaigi. Techo Kaigi translates to planner meeting, where you talk about the notebooks you have used this year, what worked out, what didn't work out, and talk about your next year's lineup. So what I'm going to do and how I'm going to approach this is I am just going to share first what I am going to use next year, which are these three notebooks that I have in front of me. And then as I am talking about them, I will integrate what I've been using this year and my thoughts on my current notebooks as well. I will also link my Techo Kaigi from the previous year, and I did like a mid-year Techo Kaigi this year as well, so I will also link that down below for you to reference if you're interested. So let's go ahead and get started. The first notebook that I want to talk about is this Hobonichi 5-year Techo. This is in the A6 size, and this is the Iyo Okumi 5-year gift set, which I had to purchase directly from the Hobonichi website as it was a special sort of exclusive gift set to the website. It comes with this beautiful pencil board and a little card, as well as this cover, which I am currently keeping in this plastic for as long as possible because it's very pristine, and I want to make sure I use like a fabric protector on it first before I really dive into it. The bookmark is this cute little tassel. And this is the beautiful artwork that's on it. It is so pretty, and I am very much looking forward to using this with the A6 Techo. This is my first time with a 5-year Techo. I have never used this before, and I know there are lots of other notebooks that offer, like 3-year, 5-year, even 10 years, I think. But I really liked the form factor of the 5-year Techo and the way it's all laid out, which is what led me to choose the Hobonichi Techo. So this is just like a sample layout. I love that it lies flat so easily, and I don't really mind the quotes. I have never really minded the Hobonichi quotes. If anything, I feel like it adds a lot of personality to the brand. So really looking forward to using this as a daily summary journal. So right now I am using a Nolte 1180 in my Passport Traveler's Notebook. And this is what I'm using right now. It's a small, I would say like even smaller than a passport size insert, but I'm using this as my daily highlights. So the monthlies I'm using for gratitude. And then the daily pages, which have some personal stuff in them, but I am basically tracking, like the weather. And I am also talking about just daily things here and there, the good things, the bad things, everything. And on the side, I randomly write about media I'm consuming or video games I'm playing or random other things. So I really do like this particular layout, and it's been really flexible and nice for me this year. And so I've kept up with it really well all year long. And I want to continue this practice, but I want to be able to look at it in a slightly longer term format. My partner and I are also expecting a little baby to join our family at the end of this year or first thing next year. So I think this 5-year will be a really great family journal as well, just for me to really keep track of our baby's growth and how we're going to all grow together as a family over the next 5 years. The one thing that I do want to point out is the paper quality and how it threw me off just a little bit this year. If you are aware of the Hobonichi Tomoe River paper Sanzen potential issues for this year's notebooks, I think especially in the 5-year. I did some pen testing here, and this in particular sort of threw me off. I don't know if you can see that, but this is the Platinum 3776 in the medium nib. And it's not necessarily severe bleed through, but it's showing a lot more than what I am particularly used to on Tomoe River paper, as well as some of the stamping, although TRP has always been a little bit difficult with heavy stamping and such. Thankfully, watercolor, if you can see on this side, performs pretty well on it still. And basically what I'm planning to do is I am probably going to use an EF nib, or like this needlepoint nib, with this pink ink. This is the Pelikan Edelstein ink, rose quartz. And I was planning to use that for basically all of 2025 as like a unifying ink, if you will. My plan for the time being, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to stick to this, is just using one ink per year. And I do have a whole bottle of the rose quartz, so I thought this was a really perfect opportunity for me to use one ink throughout the whole year for a project. This is the sample paper that came with the Hobonichi Techo 5-year. And I did some preliminary testing on this before I dove into the back pages of the 5-year Techo. And if you can see there is some noticeable just show through, which I'm used to ghosting on Tomoe River paper from my prior experiences with it, but not necessarily this much, especially like the pink ink that I used right there. Again, that's the Edelstein inks, which I understand is more likely to do this because it's a wetter ink, but still, like, this is not Edelstein ink. This is just a medium nib, and I was a little thrown off by that. Again, the watercolors seem to perform fine on this paper, but what threw me off the most was this little swatch that I did of the rose quartz. So this was a very casual swatch that I did with the Kakimori nib, so it wasn't anything super heavy. And part of the reason that it threw me off is I actually have a sample of the Sanzen Tomoe River paper that Hobonichi themselves sent me along with their 2023 Techo. So when I got my one-piece Techo in 2023, they sent me a sample of this paper saying, hey, starting in 2024, we're going to switch to Sanzen TRP, and this is what it's going to look like. So here's a sample. I cut off some of it to share with a friend. And right here on the 17th is the same ink. This is, again, the rose quartz. And if you can see on the back side, even though I pulled a good amount on there, you don't really see this type of bleed through on it. So this is the direct comparison between the two. So again, not really sure what happened. I do know that the Tomoe River paper used in the 5-year is a 47 GSM TRP, which is unique to Hobonichi, and it is thinner than a lot of what other brands use with their Sanzen Tomoe River paper. But yeah, I'm going to just have to manage my expectations a little bit with this one, I think. And like I said before, just stick to EF or needlepoint nibs with this particular ink while writing in it for 2025. And then for future years, I'll kind of have to figure out, you know, what the right combination of ink and pen pairings are. But regardless, I still do enjoy, like I said, the form factor of this Hobonichi 5-year Techo, and I still am looking forward to logging our family life over the next 5 years. So by no means am I going to switch to another notebook at this point, because this whole gift set all came together and I would like to use it all together if possible. So I am going to make it work, but that is something that I wanted to touch on briefly, as I know it was heavily discussed, especially alongside the Hobonichi launch this year and as people were getting the planners and testing out the paper. So that is the daily summary notebook that is going to replace my Nolte 1180 and also serve as a family journal. So that's the main first one that I wanted to share with you today. Next up is my Plotter 5th anniversary Licio green binder, and this is in the Bible size or personal size. And this is my current personal planner, and it will continue to be my personal planner for 2025. So very similar use, if not exactly the same as 2024. It's been working well this year, and I don't find a need to drastically change the setup. Again, this is only for my personal life, and so there aren't necessarily a ton of appointments and things in here. I do like to pretty much keep at home, and I don't really have like the most exciting life when it comes to appointments and stuff like that, and like things to do and stuff. So it's been working well for me so far, just keeping appointments here for the time being, and then just keeping to-dos on the right-hand side. One small change that I do want to make is, because the left-hand side is so underutilized this year, I want to make better use of this particular space. So instead of just keeping appointments here, which are already replicated on my monthly pages, so on my monthly pages, I already have these written out. So I'm just kind of repeating it here, but like this way. And I don't find this super helpful. So instead, in 2025, what I'm going to do is I'm going to track my meals and just like some health notes on the left-hand side instead. So speaking of sort of integrating my 2024 notebook discussions here, I do have a Hobonichi Weeks for health this year. So this is where I actually use to keep track of my meals, snacks, movement / some workouts, as well as various health notes on this empty space right here. I know there are tons of different ways to use the Hobonichi Weeks, especially for something like health, but this particular way that I have approached it has worked really well for me, and I haven't changed this up at all. So if you go to my recent pages, it pretty much looks exactly the same. So instead, I'm going to move my meals that are written here over to this side. And then I don't know if I'm gonna be tracking everything else as closely next year. I just want to be realistic with myself and what journaling I'm gonna be able to do with a new little one in our lives. So for right now, I'm just gonna really quickly track my meals and what I'm consuming and just leave it at that for now. And the beauty of Plotter is that I can always remove or add pages. So if I feel like I need some extra space to discuss my health, I can always, let's say, add one of these like project managers and, title it health, and I can always go into more detail there. But for right now, I think having that on the left-hand side will really help me keep everything in one weekly view. And then for appointments, I will just go back to my monthly page and refer to it from there. I will continue to use some of the other pages that I have for creativity and things like that. I do have like a list of video ideas here and such. So I do have some other things that are in here that I want to refresh for 2025. So I will most likely have another video towards the end of the year about how I'm going to refresh all of this. I also have like a postcard here and my word of the year, which will be changing obviously for next year. So all of those things hopefully coming in a future video, but that is the one major change that I want to make here. So yeah, that is my personal planner in this Bible size plotter, which I've been using pretty consistently since fall of 2022, which is I think when this was released. So I have really been enjoying it. And then this cover or case I got at this year's San Francisco Pen Show, and I've been really enjoying keeping everything together. So I have the binder in here, pen that I use with it here, and I do have a plus cream tape just tucked away in this pocket, which works really well for whiteout purposes. So yeah, really liking this setup for my personal planner and integrating the health portion of the Hobonichi weeks into here so that I can consolidate a little bit more for 2025. And that is the plan. I already have the monthly and weekly schedule from Plotter that I purchased. I also already tabbed the monthlies. These are from Traveler's Company, and I used the passport size monthly tabs this time. So I already did that. I have some postcards that I want to add as decoration, and I already hole punched those. So this will be exciting to set up when the time comes. And then I have a week's pencil board, and I got this with the 5-year gift set that I purchased that I just showed you. So this was basically my order from the Hobonichi website this year. And I have seen people use the week's pencil board alongside their Bible size plotter. So it's a little bit taller, but I think if I trim it a little bit, or if I fit it just right and I hole punch it, then it will work really, really nicely. And I love the look of this pencil board in particular. This is the Yumi Kitagishi pencil board for the weeks, which is really beautiful. So I want to be able to use it together, but we'll see how that all works out. But that is going to be, again, my personal planner for 2025. The third main notebook that I'm going to be using for next year, which I technically have already started using, is this Nanami paper cafe note in the B6 slim size. This is going to be, or is already, my commonplace book. And this is the cover from 1.61 Soft Goods, which is this really simple natural leather cover. It has already started aging a little bit, as you can see. And in the front, I just have some stickers that I use to mark off my commonplace book pages. I will probably make another video about this commonplace book approach and how I have been using it and categorizing everything. But for now, I will just give you like a very brief flip through. I left the front pages empty in case I wanted to use it later as like an index or something, or like a table of contents, but I haven't really done that yet. But it's got a bunch of different stuff in it. I have some book notes in it. I have some inspirational stuff in it. I finally decided to just go through all of my saved posts on Instagram and print out the ones I find really inspirational and just kind of write about those. I also have quotes in here that I find, really comforting or inspirational, and I've been using watercolor to jot those down. So it's kind of a mix of everything. Again, these are some book notes that I took in Korean, and some tutorials as well from various talented folks on YouTube and Instagram that I want to keep track of or don't want to forget about. So yeah, it's just like kind of a mix of everything. And I have been putting page numbers on it manually, because otherwise this is just a very plain grid notebook. And this is the original Tomoegawa TRP, and I really enjoy just being able to write with any fountain pen. It takes watercolors pretty well, and I do have a couple of backups of this particular notebook. It already has almost 400 pages in it, I believe. I think it's like something like 380 something pages. So it already has a ton of room, and I am probably not going to finish this notebook in 2025. But because I am approaching it as a commonplace book, there's really no expiration date on this one, and I plan to just continue using it into the future. And the fact that I do have lots of backups of this really reliable, beautiful paper. This just simple grid notebook is a lot of comfort to me, to be honest. I know that sounds kind of silly, but I do like that I have this and also just this beautiful leather cover, which I know will age beautifully with time. So that is the third main notebook that I want to make use of for, well, the rest of this year into 2025 and hopefully beyond. And I can't wait to see how this cover patinas and how I fill up the rest of this commonplace book. So you might have noticed, but what about traveler's notebooks? Didn't you use those this year? And I absolutely did. I used my traveler's notebooks this year for memory keeping and hobby journaling. So I do have two that I briefly want to share with you here. So this one right now, this is the TSL Kurashiki cover that I customized in Kurashiki in 2023, and it's just housing my various Happy Mail / random memory keeping notebook. This spread is from the road trip event that I documented. And what's funny is that in the mid-year Techo Kaigi video, I said, I'm not going to memory keep in a traveler's notebook so much anymore. I'm just going to do like more travel journaling and occasion-based journaling. And then I kind of went back on my word for that because I missed using traveler's notebooks. So I grabbed this lined insert. This is a Starbucks Reserve lined insert, and I just started journaling in it again. So for instance, like this page right here is just talking about how it's raining a lot recently, and it doesn't really have anything to do with any particular memory or Happy Mail, but I felt like making a spread and being creative, so that's what I did right here. So that's kind of what I'm using this for right now, and probably through the end of the year I'll continue filling it with some random things until I finish up that particular notebook. And then here, this is my video game journal. I am playing through a particular game called Dragon Age The Veilguard at the moment, so I'm just kind of writing down notes about the characters and my own impressions of the story and things like that. I have really enjoyed setting up this particular notebook for it, so that's what I'm using it for at the moment. And in terms of 2025, I don't really have an expectation for me to be in my traveler's notebooks on a regular basis, which is why I have left them out of my main lineup. Inevitably, what will happen is I will end up missing my traveler's notebooks in some capacity, whether they're this like standard or regular size or the passport size. I will probably just really miss my traveler's notebooks and end up diving back into them at some point. I just don't know what that's going to look like. Again, I want to be realistic with myself in terms of expectations for journaling next year with a little one on the way. So if you have noticed, my 5-year is mostly just going to be writing, just like the Nolte 1180. My personal planner, which is the Plotter Bible size, also mostly writing and very little decoration. And then my commonplace book in the Nanami paper B6 Slim, that's also just mostly writing, and I do print some pictures of inspirational things, but I don't really decorate it as of right now, and that is on purpose. I just don't know how much stationery I can pull out and how much I can really decorate and write about things as much as I do in this particular traveler's notebook, for example. I just don't really know if that's like a realistic expectation for me to journal like this on a very regular basis next year, especially for like the first half of the year. So I just want to not set myself up for disappointment, and anything I use traveler's notebooks for next year will be a nice bonus. So again, because I will miss my TNs, I will probably come back to it in some capacity, whether it's for mini travel journaling or, I don't know, keeping track of Happy Mail, packaging, things like that. but I don't want to put pressure on myself to commit to any kind of traveler's notebook journaling next year for the time being. The one other thing that I can think of using actually is the spiral ring notebook that I customized at the road trip event in early November. So this is the notebook that I customized, and I can also see myself using this as a travel journal instead. Realistically, you know, in terms of taking trips, I don't know that I'm going to be on a plane that much, if at all, next year. It's probably just going to be, you know, like little road trips. So I feel like it's such a perfect fit for that. And I love the flexibility of this notebook and the fact that I got to customize every single page of it. So I also want to dive into this a little bit if I can. But again, no obligations here. Anything that I do in these notebooks will just be a nice bonus. It'll be a fun time, but there's no pressure for me to come into here, which is why I didn't necessarily include any traveler's notebooks in my lineup for 2025. So yeah, that is the thought process there. So let me pull all the notebooks together. Again, this is a nice bonus, so it'll just kind of sit off to the side. But we have the 5-year for daily summaries. We have the plotter for personal planning, and then the Nanami paper B6 Slim notebook for commonplacing, keeping track of inspirational things, quotes, things I'm reading about, things I want to remember. So this is my 3 notebook lineup for 2025 with a little dash of traveler's notebooks here and there if I can manage. But again, I just want to keep my expectations pretty low for at least the first half of the year. I do have an amazing support system in my family, so I am confident that I'll probably have some pockets of time. But at the same time, you know, with a little one here, I don't know if I'm going to want to use the little pockets of time for journaling or just to like relax and take it easy. So yeah, we'll see how everything goes. I'm very excited for our growing family and also for me to continue journaling in the capacity that I can for 2025. So I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you found it helpful. There have been so many 2025 Techo Kaigi videos, and I am excited to go through a lot of them on YouTube. If you are thinking of using particular notebooks for 2025, please feel free to share your lineup in the comments below. All right, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care. Bye.